In my video about Langgraph, I got this comment asking me if I could show how to integrate the Vercel AI SDK with Langgraph, and that's totally possible. Langgraph is its own standalone library, so you can integrate it with whatever you want. Thank you very much for this comment, who done it X to X. To showcase this technology, I'm going to build this agent. The idea is that you give it a task. It will assign this task a priority, decide which is the appropriate department to take care of the task, and then draft an email to a person working at that department and asking them to take care of the task. This could be used, for example, by a CEO or a manager. To get started, I initialized a new project and I installed the AI package, the AI SDK OpenAI adapter, and the LangChain Langgraph package, and also put the OpenAI API key into the env file. So let's get started by defining the state. We're using again the annotation class from Langgraph, and I defined the different departments. So we have IT, HR, sales, and marketing. We have an employee type with name, email, and the appropriate department. We have the state that has the task, the priority, which can be low, medium, or high, a department, employee, and the final email that we're gonna return. Also, I put some fake employees into this array. In a real application, you would fetch them from a database, for example. With the state defined, let's start working on the graph. So we create our new state graph, we pass it in the state, then our agent is gonna be this compiled graph. Then we're gonna invoke it with this to be the first task. The app needs to be responsive. And then we're gonna console log out our resulting state. Let's add our nodes and edges. Okay, we added a node for priority where we decide the priority. Then we added a node for each department, so IT, HR, sales, and marketing. And in the end, we added the node to draft the email. And we added the following edges. From start, we go to priority. From priority, we decide to which of the nodes we want to go. So this will be handled in this function. And then from the different departments, we go back to the draft email node. And then from the draft email node, we end the process. I also created all the different action functions for each node. To decide the priority, we're going to use the generate object function from the Vercel AI SDK to get structured output. We will use the GPT-4o mini model. And we define the following schema. It will have a priority, so either low, medium, or high. And we're going to ask the LLM for a reason, and that's just a little prompting trick to get better results. And we will set the temperature to 0 to ensure consistent results. Let's also log out the result. After we got the priority, we have to decide which is the appropriate department. Let's do that next. We're going to do something very similar to the first edge. We're also going to use the generate object function, and we just modify the schema and the prompt a little bit. So now it has this department field that could be either IT, HR, sales, or marketing. We're also going to ask for a reason, and then we update the prompt to say, decide which department should work on this task and give a reason why you chose it. And we're also going to log it out. Next, let's build out the actions for the different departments. Here we're just gonna fetch the employees for the appropriate department, but if that would be a real app, we could do a database search, or we could even ask the LLM to be more specific and pick the right candidate for the job. But we're gonna keep it simple and just do it like this. So let's copy paste it to the other department actions as well. Last, let's build the draft email action. Here we're just gonna take all the information that we gathered, so the priority and the department and the employee, and ask the LLM to write an email asking the employee to tackle that task. And for that to work, we have to make the function also async. To draft the email, we're going to use the generate text function from the AI SDK, and we're just going to prompt it to write an email to the employee about the task, give it the task, the employee, and the priority. Let's see how the results are, and we can always work on the prompts if we're not satisfied with them. Oh, so we get an error, and it seems like we cannot use the attribute with the same name for a node and for the state. So let's just rename it real quick and try again. Obviously, we have to initialize our employees before we access them. So let's put them here on top and try again. Okay, let's check out the result. So it choose the priority high because it's crucial for the user experience. Then it says it's the IT department, and then it created this email. As you can see, the result of this agent invoke is going to be the state at the end. So we can also just get the email logged out. It's maybe a little bit nicer to read. Let's try again. Okay, now we can read it a little bit better. And yeah, perfect. It works perfectly fine and it drafts us our email. Let's change our task to require another department. Let's try this task. For the board meeting tomorrow, I need the sales forecasts for the next 2 months. Shouldn't be that hard because I already say the department here, but let's see what happens. So the priority again is high because it detects that the meeting is scheduled for tomorrow and the forecasts are critical. It's the sales department. It writes to Peter and that looks great. Let's test for one last time. So the task is post job listings for next year's internships. Okay, it says here the priority is high, which I think it really is not. So as you can see, it's not perfect, but I'm sure with a little prompting, we can hopefully make that better. Let's try something else to make sure it doesn't always put in high. So finally, we got a priority medium because it says the color scheme is not that important. It detects the marketing department and writes the email to Anna. Yeah, there's one more thing I want to show you because right now we're passing this model in here into the generate function. But what we also could do is we could make this model part of the state. And in this way, when we invoke the graph, we could decide which model we want to use. And the model is of the type language model. So we can add it to the state. And then here inside our functions, we can just use the state.model instead. And then when we're invoking the agent, we can pass in the model. So we could have it run with GPT-4o mini, which we just did, or we could even use GPT-4o if we need better results. Let's try it again. Let's compare them. And as you can see, the results are a little different. 4o prioritizes this one as high. It also drafts a longer email. So that's very interesting. We could also see what 3.5 Turbo says. Yeah, so that's a great way to change between models, or maybe if your app has a free tier, we can put in a cheaper model, and then for paying customers, we could use a higher model, or we could easily compare different models because we could also use the Google model, the Anthropic models, and so on. Also keep in mind that the prompts are not that sophisticated. We didn't add a system prompt. We didn't give it much context. So we could get this agent onto a much higher level. As you can see, integrating other AI libraries into Langgraph is super simple. And I must say, I really enjoy the developer experience of the Vercel AI SDK. Thank you for watching. And if you have other ideas and suggestions or questions, please write them in the video and see you next time.